and later I'll go into that if you want to.
Let's go right into it now.
Okay,
'Cause
well,
I want this section
yeah, sure.
on your father, and we can just talk about your father.
Yeah.
For your perception, what did he do? Why did he do it? What was your relationship on as you went from a kid all the way up to?
He took me around and talk about taking me around. This was walking around on the street and so on. But when I was in bed, a lot of that going on, he'd pick me up, carry me out, put me in the car, and drive me up through Sunland and to get better air, he thought, I guess, because I came back later and at home, and mind you, he's working all day long, takes me all day night, and then he goes back to work. He was a combination, did the books. He wasn't an accountant, but he did the books. He can add like crazy. And also, he sold the furniture, helped sell furniture. This was Sweets Furniture Company in right in Hollywood area. Not Hollywood as you know it, but adjacent, if you will. I remember because there was a Pep Boys there, and I got a bicycle out of there one day, 1 year later, sometime at some point in time. And let's see, softball, though, for my dad, that was something he did. I mean, he went in and he was a pitcher, and he could pitch. There were several ways to do pitching softball. It's 12-inch ball, not 13, and not slow pitch. When he came in, his arm coming around, he came in like really swift. I mean, it'd come in and hit you. You'd know it. And then he could come around and do the same thing, and it was floating. It never got there. The guy swinging around and around, and it finally got there. So he was a good pitcher, and their teams did fine. You know that my brother has been part of a lot of teams like that, a lot of teams. And when he can go, Joe could go out there in center field and throw a strike over the plate from there and nailed the guy. That was always fun. I was really, when I played with the B'nai B'rith or whatever it was that my dad was doing, when he was doing that, I played and I could get a hit once in a while. And I was out in the field somewhere out there, and I most of the time caught the ball out there, most of the time, and I could throw. When I threw, it was great over there, wherever it went.
Now, your father was a good softball player, excellent softball.
Oh yeah.
Your younger brother was an excellent softball player.
Oh yeah.
You're just saying you were, let's say, mediocre softball player.
Well, I wouldn't say mediocre, but I wasn't excellent.
Okay.
No.
How did that impact your relationship? Did
keep
you
in
feel
mind,
bad about playing softball?
I liked it and enjoyed it and everything else. I wish I could hit more, and do more, much better. And when it came to running, there were times I couldn't. I just couldn't breathe. And
so talk about your.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
When he was on the pitching mound, Uncle Sal, his brother, was on third base. His other Uncle Herman was possibly on second base or not. And Morrie, this was Kay's husband. Kay's his sister, was my dad's sister. He was behind the plate. And he wasn't the sharp guy, but he was behind the plate, and the ball came in.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of who's for. Oh, I think my cousin Richard, Richie. You know him at all? Yeah. If you know him, his father, his stepfather, Earl, I think was on first base. He was a lefty, and a lefty, you know how a lefty can do like this. He doesn't have the glove on, so he can really reach, and the glove's on this hand.
Right. So how did you feel about the whole softball thing?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. We went out anytime there was any kind of a game. Sunday, I was ready to go, and we went, back and forth and so on.
Great. And so when you look at your father's career and then his relationship with you, how would you describe, why don't you describe the jobs he had or the businesses, how things changed and how it changed your relationship?
He was helping do the books on the Pacific Cooperative Press. I mentioned that. He worked for Sweets Furniture. He had 2 jobs in that area. Okay. But prior to that, my dad had Al's Furniture in East Los Angeles, A lot of it was a lot of
When
Spanish people, Mexican
what year,
people there.
What year was that?
Well,
Roughly?
probably 29, 22, 30, 31,
So he
32
went
in
through
that
the
area.
Depression with that, or did it get wiped
Oh
out?
yeah, it got wiped out. What happened was he was selling on credit to these all the Spanish people,
Right.
and when the depression really hit bad, they left, and there he was with no furniture and no money, and so that's when he went to work for the two people he was working for,
So you were just
and I was the only one.
getting born, or
Yeah,
you were very young then.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
I don't know Al's furniture at all,
Right.
except by orally hearing about it.
Right.
But I
So-
do know Pacific Cooperative Press because I was there many
So
times.
then what happened? How did he move on from those jobs?
I just said he worked for Grandpa Frankel, which was Pacific Cooperative Press, and then he worked for Sweet's Furniture.
And then
Oh, Sweet was almost like you can see the movie. There's a movie with a fellow that plays the violin. Mr. Sweet played the violin. I mean, he really played. And it was neat. I mean, when we had a chance to sit and talk, but as far as my dad goes, he gave me a few lessons in sales. They didn't take very well, but he told me what you do. And the biggest thing you got to do, Herb, you got to step up and say, buy it now. You know, sign the paper. So I'm a little casual. I just dropped the pen. Oh, can you pick up the pen? Sign your name right there.
So were you actually selling furniture?
No, I was delivering furniture with Bob Stein, Herman's son. Herman had two.
And was that for Sweets?
No. That was no. When we were doing that, we were with Ocean Park Furniture, which Herman owned, and Dad later changed, moved to the beach, and there.
How old were you when you moved to the beach?
Maybe 14, 15. Got to be at least 16 to get my driver's license, and I actually drove the truck at 16. Whatever the
Furniture
requirements
delivery.
were there, the license said you can drive, and I drove. So I drove the truck.
How did you like working?
It was okay. I was going to school.
Did you get money for it?
Yeah, oh yeah. And not only that, I even worked Sundays for Harry's place. He had a gasoline station, and at the gasoline station, I would work Sundays. I would run the whole station. There was only just me. I mean,
How much
was-
would you make?
I don't recall the dollars. I really don't.
Yeah.
I do recall the Cokes, though. They had a Coke machine there,
Right.
and I could drink as many as I want. One an hour, one every half hour, whatever it was. 6-ounce Cokes in those days, the bottle.
And which did you like better?
And by the way, we were running through gasoline. You needed gasoline, you had to have a ticket for it. And Harry saw to it that Dad got the tickets he needed to go where he wanted to go. So whatever it was.
Because it was rationing, right?
Ration, absolutely rationing. Yeah,
For the
and meat,
war.
and meat too. In fact, I had a wagon. I went around and collected fat from people that fill up their coffee cans with from drippings from cooking.
Right.
And I went out and collected all that and turned it in wherever it was supposed to go.
And then when did?
I delivered papers, magazines at one time. I sold magazines.
How old were you then? Before
Liberty.
you were
I don't know
16 or-
exactly how old I was at that point, but I also put out brochures for the movie house, which gave me tickets to go to the movies. Movie was very close on Heliotrope there, so at the end of the block practically.
Did you like movies?
Oh, I love movies. Oh, and the Lone Ranger and all the different serials and
What was your favorite
and
movie? you
Buck
remember-
Rogers
you
and so
remember
forth.
From,
Well, the Lone Ranger I always liked that.
okay, yeah.
But the thing that was interesting, I wanted to call attention, 619 Heliotrope today, if you went there, it's a support for the freeway that's going through there. But down the block was Morris and Fannie Frankel lived there. And your grandma, Sarah, and her mother walked across the street so she wouldn't be on our side of the street. The two of them were really friendly. You could see that. Grandma was always friendly with Morris Frankel, her dad.
Right.
But the mother was not that terrific, and so on. And
So
in the meantime, Ida Stein was around, and she was, as I recall, I'm not sure exactly when, but she was at the beach.
who's Ida to you?
Ida's my grandma.
Okay. On your.
She's married.
On your which side?
What do you mean on which side? I just told you. Fannie Frankel's on the mother's side,
Okay.
and Ida Stein was, guess whose side that was on? My dad was Abe Stein.
Interviewer error.
And by the way, Abe Stein is not what he was called.
What was he called?
That's on his birth certificate, along with his gender, Mail. And the gist of the Ida Stein, she was married to, I think it was Grandpa Joe. I'm almost positive, Joseph Stein. That's, of course, that's where my brother got his name, I believe. Where I got my name, I don't know. You know, my dad said it definitely wasn't Herbert Hoover, but I was born and he was there extant, as you know.
Yeah.
But we were Democrats, no question. I mean, that was
Right.
de rigueur.
Right. So, think of your memories of your grandparents. How often
They
did you
came
see
over
them?
that Sunday. There they come. They come over to pinch a cheek here, and the aunts that pinch the cheek and all that stuff. And you know, I went under the house, or no, let's see. When we got to the beach, we were at 38 Thornton Avenue, which is a little over maybe 2 blocks from the ocean. I mean, walk into the wet, and it was a nice little house, old house. I think it cost Dad about anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 is what it was. And we had the backyard was sort of sand, absolutely sand. You got the car came in on a couple of boards.